Hello everybody and welcome back to another one of those videos where I talk about updates on Dwarf Fortress coming from Toady1 and KitFox. This time we have another small routine patch, as Tarn calls it, which of course has already been applied to both the main branch on Steam as well as itch, and of course the free classic version on the website. I'll be running through the patch notes as follows and explaining why they're interesting, but before I do that I just wanted to kind of highlight something. Have you guys noticed how frequently patches have been coming in? Adventure Mode released on the 23rd of January, which was version 51.02. After a few routine hotfixes, there was another notable update on February 12th, which brought us up to version 51.05. After that, on February 26th, the Lua beta began, and while that's only currently in the experimental branch, and it very much is experimental as it's a rewrite of the RAWs, that was only 2 weeks between patches. And now on Wednesday, March 12th, we're up to version 51.07. Yet another quality of life, bug fix, and cleanup patch. I'm really liking this frequency of patches. While they might not be the biggest, most mind-blowing overhauls, it's just really nice to see active maintenance happening, instead of it all being restricted to the beta branch, which large portions of the player base will never see. So let's dive in. For Fortress mode, we now have the ability to use the last material when placing simple one-stage buildings and constructions. This is huge. Honestly, I think this might be one of the most requested quality of life features for Dwarf Fortress, and it was something that DF Hack included in its overlays a while back. And while that's a pretty good band-aid for temporary use, it's still something that new players would bump into, having no idea of the existence of DF Hack. So I'm very happy to see this work its way into the main build. They've stopped landholders without a residence from automatically moving to and gumming up capitals. Simply put, when you would become the capital or the mountain home, you would have this string of randomly visiting barons. And now, while that's fine if you have an active tavern, it becomes a problem the literal second one of them dies, because then another one would appear to replace it moments later. It ruined immersion and was honestly quite the game-breaking bug, and made me very reluctant to push for mountain home. With this removed, that is no longer a concern. Pardon my very monotone voice, for I'm currently battling a head cold, but honestly, I'm ecstatic about these two changes. Animals marked for slaughter, and then assigned as war animal pets, are now unmarked from slaughter. Hidden zones in NPC fortresses on reclaims no longer clog up the information in the places screen, so you no longer see all those invisible tombs. The wording on work orders is now better. It's no longer stone stones, it now says stone boulders. And stones are now referred to as boulders, so that you can have an ice boulder instead of just stone boulders, specifically. So it's no longer called an ice stone boulder. Anyways, let's move on to adventure mode. This is a big one for hardcore players. Ordinary Destiny adventurers are now able to start anywhere in their civilization. This means that now all of those big mountain homes up in the mountains are settleable, and you can start in one of those fortresses. But good luck escaping them, as they are quite maze-like. Unstackable items are no longer stacked in character creation, meaning it represents what your inventory will look like. There's several infinite loops, and I'm not entirely sure what these are about, but they note one about oceans. Movement blocking announcements are displayed during travel properly. FPS display no longer blocks the speed readout. Potential containers are no longer shown with nonsense directions when placing items. That's mostly a clarity fix. If you have the graphics turned off or are playing on the classic version, indicators are now displayed in the correct position. They were backwards previously. Changes to Fort Mode sound level sliders no longer affect Adventure Mode sound levels, which is good. I will now no longer accidentally blast my eardrums out. So this is a huge one for me. Under general updates, they've stopped projectiles and falling creatures from falling through thin floors if they hit a sideways obstacle first. Essentially meaning, if you shoot a bolt or an arrow at a wall, it collides with that wall, and then falls directly down, it would fall through the floors, making it so that in order to stop them from falling through the floor below, you'd need a solid wall. This would also happen for things like skulls, fingers, ears, teeth. So when there was a fight in an enclosed room, if there was an open floor on the level above, there would be a bunch of teeth up there for some reason. I'm very happy about this change, because stuff flying through walls is no longer a concern, and that is a massive fix for immersion. Creatures with multi-grasp weapons should no longer be generated with shields. Sorry, polearm users. They've fixed a potential troublesome loop involving stone inclusion loops. I don't know what that means. Please explain in the comments section if you do. Creatures without exertion have their exertion set to 0, so they cannot appear pre-exerted. And they handled a situation where FPS caps could underflow. And lastly, they fixed a potential overflow in corpse sizes. Again, I'm not sure what that means. Please explain in the comments section if you are smarter than yours truly. But that brings us to the end of this quote-unquote routine patch. I wonder how long this routine is going to keep up. We do know that there's several things that are being worked on in Tarn's prototyping, especially based on his most recent blog post. Of course, there's also the experimental branch, which seems to be mostly Putnam's domain. I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but some of the changes here were specifically requested by me. The whole infinite respawning barons issue when becoming a capital was something that kind of wrecked the game for me at points, and actually made me retire a whole fortress, which I was recently streaming. To me, this is just simply a sign of, if you have something that's small that bugs you about the game, I'd love to know what it is. Let me know down in the comments section. Complain. Everybody loves that. I mean, after all, we're currently in the small quality of life and polishing up phase before the next big round of updates. Of course, GDC, the Game Developers Conference, not to be confused with GDQ, is coming up soon, so I expect there to be a couple less of these coming up. But if monthly or bi-monthly small feature updates or quality of life adjustments are the norm going forward, I genuinely think this is going to be a lovely summer for Dwarf Fortress, especially if sieges happen at some point in the mix. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the current state of the game down in the comments section. As I said earlier, complain away. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to know what bothers you about the game. Also, at the same time, what are some changes that they've made recently that you like? Did anything stand out from this particular update? Or any of the previous patches? I'd love to know. Currently, I'm taking a week to just simply work on editing stuff. I need to get my next big project properly underway. It's about gremlins, so I won't be streaming until next week. However, if you're starved for some Dwarf Fortress content, I do highly recommend the recent Down the Rabbit Hole video. It's recounting the classic tale of Boat Murdered, but it's a pretty good recounting of that. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.